Hey everybody, I'm Alex. Welcome to today's craft project. Today we're going to be doing sharks, which is going to be so fun. Look at this first one we're going to make. Bono, 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 bono. He's super fun. He's got this accordion body to him. Really easy to make. We'll also be doing this other one. Looks a little bit like this. Bono, 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 bono. Oh no, he's eating a fish. Uh, you're only going to need a couple basic supplies for this one. You're going to need some paper and a pen or a Sharpie or a marker and a pair of scissors and some glue, and that's it. All right, showing you this first guy, the finished product, just to give you an idea of what this thing's going to look like. He's got this fun tail, which is super fancy yet super easy to do, and also a fun little mouth with all those teeth and that tongue. Very first thing you do is get a piece of construction paper. I'm using gray because I feel like that's an extremely sharp color, but really you could use whatever color you want. You could have a pink shark or a yellow shark or whatever your heart desires. So first step is to take the piece of paper and fold it. I'm going to do my best to get it perfect because I'm filming this thing. Let's see how well I do. Pretty close. Not perfect, but it will do. All right, I'm gonna have to get this line nice and well pressed, so I have a nice even fold. All right, next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut off this extra piece of paper here. Don't worry, we're not gonna waste it. We're gonna use that part for other pieces of the shark. Just gonna go ahead and cut this thing. Okay, let's see how I did. Yep, that looks pretty good. All right, next thing I'm gonna do is I've got this nice fold. You'll notice I've got the paper like this, and then I'm going to fold again. Again, you can make this as perfect as you want. Kind of feeling the pressure because this is going to go on the internet. So I'm going to try really hard to get this right. All right, there we go. One down. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Oh. All right. Oh gosh. Okay, well that's about as perfect as it's going to get. Okay, so we've got this sort of kite shape. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to unfold it and then press it down again. So we've got our triangle shape. You can see how that looks. And then I'm going to cut some lines down the back of the shark. That's what's going to make it all bendy. All right, this first one is going to go right about there. That can be kind of wherever you want, but that's a really good spot to start. I'm going to cut it right up to that fold I made earlier. This is a really important detail. All right, and then I'm going to keep doing that. Okay, that's what it looks like. They'll give it its little bend when we're all done. Next step is to make some teeth. Okay, for the teeth, I'm just using this random piece of white construction paper that I have. And I'm going to cut a couple strips down the short side of it. Okay, so you can see that I did my best to make these as even as possible, although it does not have to be perfect. Next thing I'm going to do is take them, get them nice and evenly lined up, put end to end, and then I'm going to very carefully fold it in half. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it again this way. This part is a little harder, especially since this is really stiff paper. Let's see how this turns out. Okay, there we go. We've got now 2 pieces of paper folded like this. Next thing to do is to cut some teeth. Now, you could try doing them together and just cutting like so, but I am a little nervous about how that's going to turn out, so I'm going to do it this way. So you'll just have to bear with me. All right. So first thing I'm doing is I'm cutting so that this first tooth is only really half of a tooth. And then I'm just going to go along and cut out the rest of these little teeth. I got right to the end, and you can see I don't have enough room for another tooth. It's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and clip off that extra bit. And there you go. Set of teeth 1. All right, so that's going to be the top of the mouth. Now we got to do the bottom part of the mouth. We're just going to do exactly the same thing over again. All right, and the same thing happened to me where I got that little extra part at the end, but it's okay. I'm just going to cut it off. And we're done. We got 2 sets of teeth now. All right. So we're going to do slightly different things for the top and bottom of the shark's mouth. I will show you how that's done. So now we've got our shark body and our shark teeth. Next step is to start putting the teeth in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my glue. You could use a glue stick for this, or Elmer's glue, or whatever. This happens to be the glue I have in the house, so this is the glue I'm going to use. I'm going to start by just taking a look and seeing how this is going to work out. Okay, I'm going to, for the top mouth, we actually don't really need this little bit. So I'm just going to cut off that middle tooth. And then I'm going to cut a triangular portion off of one end. And it's going to go like this. And then I'm going to take this other end and also cut a triangle off. You could probably skip this part if you want. It just makes it a little bit easier to get things where they need to be. All right, there. Yeah, that's how that's going to look. So I'm just going to take my glue and I'm going to glue this top part here. And I'm just going to do my very best to get this lined up right. We'll see how it goes. I think you might have just saw a bit at the top of my head there. Oops. All right, give it a little press to make sure it stays nice and on. Okay, done. All right, now it's time for the other side. Okay, And that's going to be the top teeth for our shark. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to glue the body together. So it will look like this. All right, and for that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this bottom part here. This is where it'd be great to have a glue stick, but if you don't, you can just do it the hard way. It's no big deal. You don't want to use too much, because this construction paper is going to hold together just fine. I'm going to get some in the middle, though, just because. Okay, looks like that. This next part, you got to be a little bit careful. I'm going to get this lined up as well as I can. And then fold this guy over. Oh, it's not going so great. Oh no. Try my best not to get glue all over my hands, and I'm only being slightly successful. All right, now that it's together, I'm going to do my best to just sort of press those bottom folds of paper together, which I know you can't see, but that's what I'm doing. And yeah, we are getting close to being done. Look at that. Next thing we're going to do is give this guy his bottom jaw. So I brought my scrap piece of paper back, and we're going to cut a triangle out of this that will make a triangular bottom jaw. So to do this, I'm just going to take my piece of paper, and I'm going to do my best to eyeball what this should be like. I want it to be just a little bit smaller than the actual width of this piece of paper here. So I'm just going to make a little mark with a pen so I know I'm getting it right. All right, there we go. All right, so next, the only thing to do is cut myself a triangle. Now I'm just sort of eyeballing this. You could certainly do the nice and careful thing and draw yourself a triangle first. That would always be a pretty good plan. I'm just going to even this up a bit. All right, and that's going to be the bottom of the shark's mouth. All I'm going to do now is glue this thing on. Oh, I'm getting glue everywhere. Okay. And then this next part is going to be a little tough to see. I'm going to do my best to show you. I'm just going to put it in, get it as even as I can, and then just press down. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut out the tongue of the shark. I've got a piece of orange paper here. You could really use whatever color you want for this, whatever you think a shark's tongue should look like. I'm just going to go ahead and cut myself a triangle. And we're going to have to futz with this one a little bit. I'll show you what I'm doing. Alright, so I've got a triangle that looks nice and even, that I'm having trouble picking up. Okay, there we go. Now, I want to make sure that it's a little bit smaller than that triangle I just glued in. So look at that, it's just a little bit too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to cut this bottom part off. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. Yeah, there we go. And then I'm just going to put it in here for a second to make sure it's going to be the right size. And nope, just lost it inside the shark. Okay. Yeah, that'll be like perfect. All right, so we're going to save this for just a minute. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to glue in the bottom teeth. So I've got the teeth right here. And I am going to press them nice and flat. Those folds were helpful to help you cut out the teeth, and they'll be helpful later. You'll see how. But in the meantime, working with a flat surface is just better. I've got glue on my fingers. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and cut another triangle right up to the fold. And this time, we're leaving that that middle tooth right where it was. So that's how it looks. All right, now I'm going to carefully fold the teeth upright. Don't want to fold them too much because then they'll be bent inward. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, now I'm gonna figure out how this is gonna go. It's gonna be glued in sort of like this. But you can notice, maybe, that I've got kind of too many teeth. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut off, I say I'm gonna cut off the last two. This is one of those things where you could measure it, be super careful and just get everything perfect right from the outset, or you could just make a little extra and then you can cut off what you don't need. And I like to do projects that way. It's less muss, less fuss. All right, so these are gonna go in here. It's gonna be a little hard to show you, but I'm just gonna go ahead and glue this on. Again, you don't want to use too much glue. This would be a great time for glue stick, but it'll be okay. All right, and then I'm just going to glue these in. I'm doing my very best to make sure it lines up properly. It may not in the end, but it'll be okay. And then I'm pressing down to make sure that they're in there nice and tight. Okay, got a full set of teeth now. Next up is the tongue. Which I'm just going to put right in there. Press it down a little bit. Yeah, that's what it looks like. All right, cool. Next step is making some fin. Okay, second to last step here, we're gonna cut ourselves some fins. So I have a little bit more of that gray paper that I'm gonna fold in half. There we go. So this part's a little bit trickier than the other stuff, but I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm just gonna cut a triangle out like so. And then I'm gonna cut the back of the shark's fin. Yeah, just like that. And then I'm gonna make it super fancy by cutting like this. Cool, so this is kind of a little bit of a heart shape. And that's gonna be this guy's tail fin. Right, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a couple side fins. I'm gonna do them both at the same time because it's just easier that way. So I cut myself sort of a circular shape. And then I'm gonna cut up like that. And then these are going to go on each side, so I'm just going to cut right down the fold. Just like that. Those are going to go like this. All right, and then all that's left to do is cut ourselves a top fin. Now for this, I'm going to take advantage of the fold in this piece of paper. So I got something like this. And I am just going to cut a nice curve like that. Well, a little bit neater than that. Yeah, like that. And then just going to very carefully cut a little bit into the top. Yeah, doesn't that look like the top of a shark's fin? I think it does. All right, and then I'm going to leave most of this square piece, this rectangular piece, so cut maybe this much off. I'm going to use this part to glue it onto the top of the shark. And we're actually ready to start gluing everything on. I'm going to do the top fin first, because I feel like it. Like always, you don't want to use too much glue, because then you'll just make a mess. Alright, I'm just gluing this thing on right where the head meets the body. I don't think that's exactly where a top fin goes on an actual shark, but that's where it's going to work best here. I'm just going to press on as best I can. And yeah, there's this little top fin. Perfect. Next I'm going to do the tail fin. This little dab of glue. I'm just going to press it on. Cool. And then just 2 more fins to go. And then I'm going to put my hand inside the shark's mouth, which you should never do with a real shark. And then I'm just going to press down. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. I want it to be right under its little mouth. The way it'll fold the way I want it to fold. Okay, there we go. One last thing to do, which is just draw some eyes on this thing. So I've got my Sharpie, and I'm just going to very carefully draw one eye. Cool. And then, as evenly as I can, I'm going to draw another eye. And yeah, that's that. That is our shark. Now, when you're doing this, oh, shark lost his tail. Glue that right back on. At this point, if I weren't filming, I would leave this thing for about a half hour so that the glue can dry. But since we are filming, I'm just going to show you what it looks like. Super fun, awesome, bendy shark. All right, on to shark number 2. Okay, for this next shark, you'll need glue, which I got right here, and a pair of scissors, and a pen or Sharpie or whatever, and also a clothespin. And then I'm using this piece of gray paper because why not? Can't be any simpler. I'm just going to go ahead, fold my paper in half. And then I'm going to cut out a shark body. Just like that. And then I'm just going to cut along the fold. And there we go, top and bottom. It's going to go sort of like this. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw on this thing now while I can use a nice flat surface. So I'm going to give my shark an eye. And then also some gills. Okay, cool. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue it right onto my clothespin. I think it's just easier to put the glue on the clothespin instead of the paper, so that's what I'm doing. So you can see I put the glue, well, you can kind of see, I put the glue almost up to the edge of that piece of metal. And then I'm just going to very carefully put on the pieces of paper. Now, if you want this to turn out right, at this point, you'll want to just let things sit for, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes to let the glue dry. And we can start adding the other parts. All right, next step is to give this guy some fins. So we only need 2 fins for this one for the top and then one for the side. So for this, I am just going to take a small piece of paper, fold it in half, and then, it's a little bit too wide. I'm going to cut it down a little bit. Just like that. Then I'm going to cut the inside of the fin, and then the outside. All right, cool. And then we're just going to have to glue this thing onto the side. So I've got a piece that looks like this. I'm just going to put glue on this inside edge. And then smush it onto the bottom of my shark. Just like so. All right, and while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and do the top fin. For this, I'm not going to fold the paper. I'm just going to trim it up a little bit. And then do pretty much exactly the same thing. Start with the outside edge first. Cool. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of a curve. Alright, and that's going to be the top fin. I'm just going to trim a little bit of this off. And then all I have to do is glue it to the top, which I'm going to do right now. Okay, there we go. There's our shark. All we got to do, oh, see, this is why you let the glue dry. All right, all we have left to do is give this shark a fish to go inside its mouth. To do that, I'm going to make sure my piece of paper is small enough that it's not bigger than the inside of this guy's mouth. And then I'm going to give the guy a little tail. Just cutting little triangles on the outside, on the one end. And then I just got to cut out the fish's body, which I'm going to do like this. Yeah, there's our little fish. It's going to give it one last look to make sure it's going to fit. Yep, that's going to fit just fine. And then I'm going to use a small piece of white paper, or whatever color paper you want. I like this one because it's nice and stiff. It's like thick paper. And I'm just going to trim it up just a little bit. And then I'm going to put 2 tiny dots of glue on this thing. One on each end. Oh, I'm getting glue all over the place. It's okay. All right, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to put the fish on one end, and then I'm going to very carefully pick it up and put this guy inside the shark's mouth. All right, and then I'm just going to let this shark completely dry. All right, there you have it. We have our 2 fun sharks, Mr. Bendy, Mr. Bitey. Hopefully that gives you something to do, something that you want to make, and I hope that we see you soon.